I'll make this same argument that I make all the time about materialism and spiritualism. They do not exist on the same plane. And so as a result of that, the two don't have to be mutually exclusive. So when it comes to polarity, there is no polarity between spiritualism and materialism because they're not even on the same pole. The same is true of business and spirituality. And in fact, I would make the argument that we are not being spiritual if we are not stepping fully into our custodianship of our businesses. Because if we're not doing that, then we're not owning our sovereignty. We're not owning our greatness. We're not owning that the work that we're here to do in the world is vital and important and meaningful. We're not owning the gift that our Creator has given us. This is Leah Steele, aka The Wealth Witch, and this is my podcast. I'm here to activate you to remembrance of your divine birthright to be wealthy in all areas of your life. This podcast is for people ready to have controversial conversations about the financial control, manipulation, and tyranny that faces humanity today. I'm gonna live in freedom. I'm gonna live my destiny. The Wealth Witch. It's for the people who are ready to wake up, deconstruct their wealth programming, and free themselves from the financial slavery consciousness that serves the global financial agenda. I'm committed to realizing a new global wealth paradigm where economic freedom is the reality and where you get to design and live the life of your dreams. Now let's do the damn thing. Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Wealth Witch podcast. I am your host, Leah Steele, the Wealth Witch. So today's episode is for my listeners who are spiritual entrepreneurs and those who particularly are in spiritual-based types of businesses. I've really been diving deeply into reevaluating how I'm doing business right now. I really believe that the world has radically transformed over the last 2 years, and business just is not the same anymore. So the way I built my business, this online business and this presence, beginning doing that, in 2016, it's just really not even possible to build business that way anymore because of the changes in online algorithms, and how the platforms are allowing your information to be seen. Obviously, we have a huge issue with censorship these days. And so what the last 2 years has shown me is that we really have to be ready to pivot at a moment's notice. And that doesn't mean that we don't stay true to what the mission and the vision is. But right now, in the world, we have to be able to adapt to the quickly changing landscape of online platforms and, spiritual business just in general. So I work primarily with spiritual entrepreneurs. And when I say spiritual entrepreneurs, I really truly mean anyone that's doing business from a heart-centered, heart-led place. I do work specifically with a lot of people who not only are spiritual entrepreneurs, but have spiritually based businesses. So what does that mean? Well, those are the healers. Those are the energy workers. Those are the coaches, the life coaches, the transformational coaches. I work with a lot of people in that space, and I work with a lot of people who work primarily online and have, community and clients all over the world. One of the things that I've really become aware of, especially since the pandemic started, is there is a whole new level of judgment that people place on spiritual entrepreneurs or people that are doing business from a heart-led and heart-centered place. And what I'm noticing is it's almost like people expect you to be a doormat. That just because you're running your business from a heart-led or heart-centered place, that you shouldn't have boundaries, that you shouldn't actually be operating your business like a business. And this is one of the places that I actually see spiritual entrepreneurs and people, particularly in spiritual based business, fail in the first few years, is because there's so much dogma and programming and conditioning around how you need to act, do, be, behave as a spiritual entrepreneur. And there's an expectation of the community, the people receiving the services, that you're just going to be a pushover and that you're not going to actually have systems and structures in place and policies in place in your business. I've really been noticing this in the last year in particular. So this is an issue that I actually never, ever used to have in my business. I have, I run a business and I have employees and I have policies and procedures, and we have SOPs, standard operating procedures that we follow. I have terms and conditions. I require people agree to my terms and conditions and my payment policies upon checkout or payment for any of my programs, because my time is valuable, as is the time of my clients. And so if we can be really upfront when we choose to engage and work with each other and provide a value exchange, then we can all just sort of show up in full integrity as the best versions of ourselves and receive and or deliver what we've agreed to. So I've always had these policies and procedures in place because I've always felt like they were important, because I'm a business person. I am a spiritual person. I am a person who runs a spiritually based business, and I am a spiritual entrepreneur. I run my business and I do my business dealings from a heart-led and heart-centered place. But it doesn't mean that I'm a doormat. And it doesn't mean that just because you've decided that you don't like how I'm running my business, that you get to come back and argue the terms and conditions and policies and procedures that you've agreed to when you opted into them or when you signed them. So I didn't ever really have these issues in my business. And in the last year, I've been noticing that people are taking less self-responsibility and less self-accountability for their actions and for the things that they're doing. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that we are being stripped of our self-responsibility and self-accountability by our governments. This entire pandemic has created a culture of people who are doing what they're told and are having their personal sovereignty stripped away, who are having their personal sovereignty stripped away. And as a result of that, we're losing a lot of personal responsibility, self-accountability, and self-responsibility. And let me tell you something, I am not here for this, because this will be the downfall of humanity. Lack of self-responsibility and self-accountability is going to be the downfall of humanity. It will not be a virus. It will not be governments or institutions or organizations or our financial institutions. Like, that won't be the downfall. The downfall will be that we stop taking responsibility for ourselves, that we stop being accountable for our own actions. And is that being perpetuated by the state of the world and what's happening on the global stage? Yes, absolutely. But as business people, I think it's very, very important for us to stand up for what we believe in and to stand up for our businesses. And just because we do business from a heart-centered, heart-led place does not mean that we are doormats, does not mean that people can walk all over our boundaries, does not mean that people should expect us to shift our policies and procedures because they don't like how something happened, or they don't like how something that we said online or something that we said in a program or how we held them accountable in a program. And I think that we really, really need to begin to embrace that inner business person that is no bullshit. This is the thing that I really want to help spiritual entrepreneurs step into in the next year. This is the place that I'm being called most to service, is to help entrepreneurs open up additional streams of revenue, people that perhaps have not stepped into self-employment to begin to look at how they can create home-based business or online business that brings in additional streams of revenue. Because I really believe that diversifying where we're receiving our income is one of the most important things we can do over the next 12 months. So I'm being called to greater levels of service in helping people, first of all, tap into and identify what the work is that they should be doing in the world. Find their uniqueness and their individuality within that work, really hone in on that message. And for those of us that have been in the space for a while, one of the things that I'm doing right now is this deep dive into the rebirthing of my business. I have been doing a lot of spiritual work on tapping into what is my next level service to this planet and humanity. And that's, the messages that I've been being given and that have been delivered to me is that it's time for me to step up and start helping entrepreneurs, helping people become entrepreneurs, but helping entrepreneurs really refocus, rebirth their businesses, get really, really clear on what the message that the planet is, that what the planet needs from them right now. And then being able to go out and deliver that work in a way that it is going to enable them to be properly resourced, but also in a way where it's sustainable and that they are valuing themselves, and their uniqueness and their individuality. So, as I was thinking about recording this podcast, I just was feeling into how much dogma there is around what it means to be a spiritual practitioner. And the dogma and the programming and conditioning around being a spiritual practitioner is what keeps spiritual practitioners broke. Because first and foremost, we're told, that we shouldn't earn a lot of money for healing people or helping humanity. There was a big push by the powers that be around the time of the canonization of the Bible that guilted spiritual healers into not receiving financial support for the services that they were offering. That was to keep spiritual people disempowered, because when spiritual people are empowered, they cannot be controlled. We are not easy to control. We are not easy to manipulate when we are fully in our spiritual sovereignty. And so as a result of that, obviously, the driving powers at the time, which were pushing Christianity, were really working hard to disempower healers, to disempower our medicine women, our medicine man, the people in the tribe and in the communities that were healing, that were helping people, by using their intuition and their spiritual gifts that up until that point had been considered just that, a gift. And so, obviously we had the Inquisition come and we had people being labeled heretics, and we had people, being labeled witches, and we did everything we could in our power to get people to repress and suppress their spiritual gifts. And so, we've evolved obviously since then. And, the humanity has begun this sort of ascension path that we're on. And we had the New Age spiritual movement come along, and people are much more open and much more liberal with sharing their gifts and stepping out into the world and and doing that purpose work, finding that purpose work and doing that purpose work. But we still hold a lot of this programming and conditioning. It's why spiritual entrepreneurs have a really difficult time making money. So obviously, I have my wealth repatterning programs that focus on that. And we've helped thousands of people over the last few years, and that feels really amazing that I'm able to be of service and help people deconstruct their financial slavery consciousness and, their programming and conditioning around lack and money and scarcity. But the thing that I've been realizing recently is that even though we may feel worthy and deserving of earning money from a heart-led and heart-centered place, we still often will not fully step into our power when it comes to that because we are afraid to be judged as being too masculine, as being too businesslike, because for some reason we believe that business and spirituality shouldn't coexist. And I'll make this same argument that I make all the time about materialism and spiritualism. They do not exist on the same plane. And so as a result of that, the two don't have to be mutually exclusive. You don't have to make associations between spiritualism and materialism because they don't exist on the same plane. They're not on the same pole. So when it comes to polarity, there is no polarity between spiritualism and materialism because they're not even on the same pole. The same is true of business and spirituality. And in fact, I would make the argument that we are not being spiritual if we are not stepping fully into our custodianship of our businesses. Because if we are not doing that, then we're not owning our sovereignty. We're not owning our greatness. We're not owning that the work that we're here to do in the world is vital and important and meaningful. We're not owning the gift that our Creator has given us. If we are not choosing to fully energetically back that gift and that message and that vision and that work that we're here to do in the world, if we're not fully energetically backing that and we're not willing to back it in a way that we hold boundaries around our policies and procedures and our payment policies and our value of time and the value of exchange that we provide, then I would say we actually are turning our back on our Creator. We're turning our back on our spirituality because we're saying that the message and the information that we've been given about this gift that we're here to share with the world, that we don't value it. And I really want people to begin valuing the work that they're here to do in the world. I want them to begin valuing their message. I want them to begin valuing their gifts again and to charge accordingly. And the reason I want you to charge accordingly is that when you are properly resourced, you have the ability to change the world. And right now, we need you changing the world. We need you. If you don't know what your purpose work is, you should be figuring it out right now. You should be doing anything and everything in your power to identify what that thing is that you were sent to this planet to deliver. There is a gift and a message that only you have, that you've been given, that is unique to you and that only you can deliver. And the reason only you can deliver it is because no other being on this planet has the unique energy signature that you have. Our energy signatures are like our fingerprints. There's no two that are alike. And as a result of that, you vibrate at a certain frequency. And through your vibration and your delivery of your message, the way that only you can, there are certain people in the world that will be attracted to the resonance of your vibrational frequency. And they will only be attracted to you for the message that you are meant to deliver to them. And this is the thing where I see spiritual entrepreneurs playing so small, and because they don't feel worthy or they don't feel deserving, or quite frankly, they don't know how to hold boundaries for themselves around their value and their worth. They don't know how to hold boundaries around their businesses. They don't know how to, create systems and structures that will support their growth and evolution and expansion and their ability to do more work and create greater impact in the world. And that's really the thing that I want to help change. And that's really where I'm being called to service right now. And so the first step in this, I believe, is to get really clear on what expansion would look like for you in your business. If you were able to consistently bring in a certain amount of money every single month that you knew would make you feel safe, stable, and secure, and you could participate in life the way that you desired to participate in life, and you had enough support and assistance in the form of team members, assistants, maybe even staff in your home to help you with some of your day-to-day responsibilities. If you had that amount of money every month to support you, how much greater impact could you make? How much more of a difference could you make? How much easier would it be for you to show up fully in purpose and purpose-led on a daily basis? Do you believe that the work that you are meant to do in the world is worthy of massive compensation? Do you believe that you are valuable? Do you believe that you're here to change the world? Because if any of that is true, it is time to put down our martyrdom complexes. It is time for us to say fuck off to all of the judgment that comes from other people in the spiritual community. And it is time for us to step into our sovereignty as spiritual business people who operate our businesses like we believe that they have value. We fully energetically back the divine mission work that we've been given by our Creator. We show up fully every day to deliver those messages. And we expect to be financially compensated and respected for the work that we're putting out into the world. So this is, my overriding theme right now. And I really hope that if you are in spiritual business, you take this podcast seriously and you begin to look at where you're playing small, where you're settling, where you're accepting less than what you are deserving of, because it's time to knock that shit off. It's time for you to step fully into your power and fully energetically back yourself as the incredible, world-changing human being that you came to this planet to be. In order to be that, you have to be properly resourced. In order to be properly resourced, you have to begin looking at your business like a business. You have to start having a relationship with your business. For me, it's about looking at my business as if it's an entity that I am in relationship with, or an energy. If an energy feels better to you, it's like, is it an energy? It's got a soul and a life force of its own. And I look at my business in terms of the relationship I have with it. And I respect it like I would respect my significant other or my best friend. And we work in tandem and in collaboration with each other. And I pay attention to the energetic shifts in the frequency and the vibration of my business. But we operate the business like a business. It deserves the respect that you would give any other type of business. So where do you desire to be a year from now? What is the impact that you desire to be making a year from now? What would shift and change if you started respecting your business the way that you respect your significant other or your best friend? How much could it grow? How much could you expand together? Food for thought. And if you are ready to take this to the next step, and step into a container where you will be held radically responsible for all of this, including identifying what's next for you in your business, rebirthing your business if you have an existing business that's been successful, really honing in on how to fully energetically back yourself in the business of spiritual business. I would love for you to join me in my 2-week intensive Heretic. Applications are open through this upcoming weekend. I believe they close on the 22nd of November and we begin on the 24th. I am actually dropping pre-work into that container today. So you definitely want to apply. This is by application only because I want to know that you are serious about keeping a 14-day commitment to yourself and being willing to radically push yourself outside your comfort zone. But if this sounds like you and you are ready to join me in a business accelerator intensive for 2 weeks and have your ass held radically responsible, then click the link in the show notes and join me in Heretic. Until next time, remember, it is your divine birthright to be wealthy in all areas of your life. And you are worthy and you are deserving of that and of fully energetically backing the important work that you are here to do in the world. That's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure to connect with me on social media and reach out. I love hearing from you. And if you want more of me, real, raw, and uncensored, make sure to join the Wealth Witch Telegram channel. It's my free channel where I share all of my random daily musings as well as the information that I feel like is important and pertinent to my community. We've put a link to the Telegram channel in the show notes, so make sure to come join us over there if that intrigues you. Remember, wealth is a mindset, and you are the most powerful creator in your reality. Until next time, this is the Wealth Witch signing off.